What's up, side hustlers? Today we have an exciting interview with Austin, who is a pressure washing expert that has over 4 years of experience with his pressure washing business. Today we're going to look at what is needed in order to get started, how much it's going to cost, how much money you can make with this side hustle, and tips and tricks with getting started that's going to expedite your pressure washing business. Trust me guys, there's a bunch of great nuggets of knowledge in this episode, so let's get started with the interview. All right, now we have Austin here. We're in the interview. The first question we have is, how long have you been pressure washing for?
What's going on, guys? So I've actually been doing this for about 4 years, actually.
Oh, wow. And I guess we're going to talk about all your experience and all your tips and stuff, but what's like your typical client? Is it for residential or commercial?
We've been, really it's both. I would say probably 75% of it is residential. Over the years, we have a lot of repeat clients and stuff, but recently it's been a lot of commercial. So like parking garages, gas stations, restaurants, cause all those kind of places need to get cleaned, twice a year. So
Definitely. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And did you have any previous experience with pressure washing, or how did you get into it?
My story as far as how I got into pressure washing goes like this. I was actually in the car business selling cars for 2 years ago. This was 6 years ago. So this is when I was 21. I was selling cars. I was in the car business for 2 years. I was really good at my job. The only thing I got tired of was working. I was working a lot of hours, so 70 hours a week, Monday through Saturday. Sunday was my day off. I also had Thursdays off, but most times when I had clients, I was forced to go in unless I wanted to miss out on that money. So most times I went in. Ended up coming across, I had some free time one day. I was on YouTube on my desk, and I came across this video of this kid. He's a lot younger than me, and he made $300 pressure washing this driveway in an hour. And it took him an hour to make $300. Now, anybody watching that knows anything about the car business, typically on a car, there's language called a mini, which is like the minimum amount you'll make on a car sale. That was in my dealership $300, right? And sometimes I'll be there all day to make a car sale, right? And so I was like, man, this kid did a driveway. It took him 1 hour, and he made $300. Where I'm sitting here all day, away from my family, away from my dog, away from my life, trying to make the same thing. And this guy just did it in freaking an hour, right? And so that's the kind of what sparked my interest. And so I think it was a few weeks after that, it just kept being in my mind. I was like, man, like I gotta try this pressure washing thing. And then I think it was 3 weeks after I watched that initial video where I bought my first equipment from Home Depot, and I was ready to rock and roll. So that was 4 years ago. I did it on Sundays for I think 2 months, 3 months in a row. Including my days off on Thursday when I was available. And I did pressure washing while I was working at the car dealership. And that's kind of how I got started. I got intrigued by a YouTube video. And here we are, 4 years later.
But yeah, it's an awesome story. What about like the learning curve? Like how much information is there to get caught up to speed with?
The learning curve is huge. I mean, the funny thing is when you're talking to clients and talking to people that want to get into the industry, they think it's just as simple as spraying water. It's just like, and then you see some people like talk about, oh, all they're doing is spraying water. That is the furthest from the truth. It is like not even funny. Like if you're cleaning concrete, sure, yeah, you're spraying high pressure water. And when you're talking about houses, you're using water, but there's a lot of detergents, chemicals, soaps. There's all kinds of restoration products to remove, rust stains and all kinds of stuff. I mean, you really have to be proficient in what you're talking about. So the learning curve was crazy. A lot of YouTube TV. I'd be driving, I'd be going to sleep, I'd be at night, and I'd be watching YouTube pressure washing. Like I don't even listen to music now. I mean, even today, I'd still watch YouTube videos when I'm driving somewhere, whether that's like personal finance or stuff that entertains me or just educational stuff. So it was a lot of YouTube figuring out the ins and outs of this business. A funny story I like to tell when I'm talking, I actually have a YouTube channel too, where I teach this industry, but I like to tell people that reach out to me is like, look, my first house wash that I ever did, this real estate agent actually gave me the opportunity to wash one of their listings because I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm a new business owner. Look, I'm just trying to start myself off in this business. I'd love the opportunity to wash one of your listings. Let me know if I can do anything for you, right? He gave me the opportunity. I was so grateful for it, right? Didn't know what I was doing. My aspect was like, I'm going to go to this house. I'm going to figure it out when I get there. And it actually took me 2 days to do this because I would get there and try to wash something, and then it wouldn't turn out the way it should. And I'd go back in my truck, watch a YouTube video as the clients are there. And I watch YouTube, like, oh, that's how you do it. Okay, cool, cool, cool. And I'd get back out there and do that way of doing it. It worked for a little bit. Then I'd figure out, oh, I need some chemical because the YouTube video told me I need chemical. I'd leave the job, make up an excuse why I have to leave, run out of gas, right? And then go get the chemical, come back, right? And start doing it. It was a very long process. And like that's kind of how I started. But like but you asked me about the learning curve, is that was my mistake. Like instead of I really had no idea what I was doing. I was literally going out there, like selling myself. And, I mean, everyone starts how they start, but I really didn't know what I was doing. And that job took me 2 days when now it would take me an hour. And just made a fool of myself a little bit. But I mean, if the job got done, it was a lot of, learning and YouTube research. And that was the best money I've ever made. Not because it was the most money I've ever made, but when I left after 2 days of just killing myself, it was like a $700 check for house washing, the concrete. I cleaned the gutters, everything. And I remember just leaving that job, and I was like, this is what I wanted to do. I just need to figure out how to be more efficient and figure out what the hell I'm doing. But I had no idea what I was doing. So the learning curve was just literally just watching as many videos as possible. I mean, anyone that asks me that, like, how do I get into pressure washing, or really how to get into anything, it's like reading all the books, watching all the videos, like really being a sponge to information. Because like the worst thing you can do is like tell yourself you know what you're doing when you really don't, and then you're in the middle of it and you don't know what you're doing, and it's very awkward. And it's just figure out what you're doing and then do it.
So it sounds like, yeah, it's a lot of on the job learning, like kind of as you go, but also prepare as much as possible. So maybe like
lots of preparation, because I mean, unless you're solely doing concrete driveway cleaning, then I mean, everyone's grown up pressure washing their own driveway. Their dad says, hey kid, pressure wash the driveway or whatever. And like, so everyone has experience doing it. I don't know a single person that has never worked a pressure washer before, right? Anyone can pressure wash concrete, and if that's your niche, you can do it. But this is a different conversation. But nowadays the industry, no one pressure washes houses because you can blow a screen rod off the window, you can damage the house, right? Everyone uses detergents and soaps that shoot out the gun that cleans the property, and all you gotta do is rinse it off. It's almost like a soap on, soap off, kind of like washing your hair. Put the soap in, let it sit, rinse it off. Same thing with the house. You don't pressure anything anymore. So that's been an experience, because you can easily mess up the house by using too strong of a chemical. You can use the wrong chemical. You can mix two chemicals together, right, and create really hazardous stuff that can like make you pass out. That's actually happened to me before, but I'm not talking about that. But so like, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but there's a lot to learn about the industry. But it's a very rewarding industry. Lots of work, infinite amounts of work, different niches within the industry. It's very high profitability, as far as your time in versus chemicals versus what you can charge. So it's a really good business.
Yeah, it's great to hear. And yeah, it kind of goes back to always just being a student. Even if you have years of experience, there's always something to learn, be a little bit more efficient. So I feel like always having that mindset definitely helps long term. But kind of taking a step back, I guess, what do you typically pressure wash for your clients? You're talking about like driveways, is housing, siding? Is it basically everything you can imagine?
I mean, it's exterior cleaning. So, I mean, really anything. I mean, it's anything from roof cleaning to gutter cleaning to house washing. And house washing is just a term for cleaning the house, the exterior of the house. Concrete cleaning. A few restaurants that we've done, gas stations. We're contracted to do a huge 60,000 square foot parking garage in November. So that's all surface cleaning. So it's really anything exterior cleaning. I mean, I've gotten calls to do so much stuff, but I'm not really niched down where I just focus on one thing. I mean, we really kind of clean it all. So, I mean, really anything that someone can think of. I mean, there's so much stuff that needs to get cleaned.
Makes sense. So basically, any exterior thing, you're the guy, you're the company that can take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay. What about, so say I'm someone that's watching this and after hearing the start of this, I'm convinced that this is something I want to look into. What do I need in order to get started?
There's a couple different ways you get started. Sometimes people come into a new business and they have some financial backing. Maybe they have a main job. They've been saving for a long time. They have money to put towards a new business. And sometimes people start their business and they have $15,000 to throw at equipment, and they get the biggest and baddest equipment out there, and then they're ready to go, right? And then there's people like me who had like little, like not much, because back when I was selling cars, I was actually making a lot of money, but I was an idiot and I was spending a lot of money too, at the bars, on toys, dirt bikes, and all that stuff too. So I was like, my account would just go back to like I wasn't putting anything away. So I essentially started with nothing. Right. And then there's people that can just literally have nothing, and they rent the equipment as they go, right, to build their business. But I would tell people just and this is what I teach on my coaching calls, is like, look, figure out what your budget is to start a business, whether that's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, right? And what I would do if you really want to start is what I did was what I didn't do, which if I would have done, I would have been a lot farther now than I could have been, right? Which is set aside at least half of that budget for your marketing, like your website and your online presence. Is what I did is I found $600 that I scraped together, and I went and bought Home Depot pressure washer, the lines, the guns, and everything, right? But then I had like nothing, and then I turned into like a door-to-door guy where I was like, hey, like, do you need any cleaning, any of that stuff? I was posting on Facebook, but like, figure out your online presence. Even if I would tell someone new today, if you want to start your business, to get your online presence figured out first. Okay, like if you have $1,000, screw the equipment. I would go and spend money on a website, get a SEO guy in your corner, start on a monthly plan, and give it to someone who knows what they're doing, someone that can help you rank. Get all your friends and family to give you reviews. That way you're there. That way you have some dependable calls coming in. Because what I see nowadays is, like in my industry, is people are buying this new equipment and they're so excited, ready to start their business, and then they're selling their equipment on these Facebook groups, like 3 months down the road, like, hey, this business didn't turn out the way I thought it would. Like, I'm selling it for $20,000. Like, dude, what the problem was is you probably over leveraged yourself on you got really excited, you over leveraged yourself, you bought this new equipment, and then you didn't have the website, you didn't have that online presence solved, and now you're sitting on your couch 3 months later with a beer, like, crap, like, why am I not getting any calls? I thought this was going to be better. Whereas if you start from you get the online stuff figured out, you start from the ground up, you get your equipment matches the level of jobs you have coming in. If you're only doing 2-3 jobs a month, your equipment should match that. You don't over leverage yourself, especially getting started, because you don't want to go. And then what the worst part is, some people borrow the money too, which is like I'm fine with borrowing money for good things, right? But when you just go on a whim and just borrow $20,000 on this business idea that you know nothing about, you have no presence, you have no nothing, that's a $20,000 toy just sitting in the driveway. And what happens is, like, people are making payments on it and they have no calls coming in, and then they start getting scared. They get into financial issues. So that's why I tell people, like, look, just focus on the jobs, because at the end of the day, you can always go and rent the equipment from Home Depot. Just get your online presence solved first. And then with whatever budget you have left over, you can buy your equipment accordingly, and then progressively start from the bottom, work your way up. Like, because as you work your way up, it's going to be all cash, or there's going to be no payments on anything. Most people have debt in their personal life anyway, right? You don't want debt on your new business idea too, right? Like, dude, just start from the ground up and see if this is something you even want to do. Like, some people are opening loans on business ideas, and they find out they don't even like it. Like, figure out if it's something you even like doing, because it's hard work. Like I said, it's not just frying water. You can make a lot of money, but like do yourself a favor, start from the ground up, really learn what you're doing. And if if your business demands that you expand and get your better equipment, then you can make that call. But I like I said, I just focus on the marketing, get that squared away first, then get yourself some equipment, whatever budget you have left, and then just hit the ground running. That's what I would tell somebody.
Yeah, I think that's a great game plan too. And then also the way I kind of think about it would be like, maybe this is a great way to test your market. Maybe it's super competitive, but instead of paying, $10,000, $20,000 for equipment, like you were saying some people do, this way you're seeing, oh, I would have to charge a lot less in order to get X amount of bookings per week or so. So yeah, I think that's a great tip right there. And then go and rent it. And then, like you said, if this is something you want to do, you can figure it out from then and then buy the equipment to match what kind of jobs you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point. So I guess
yeah, go ahead.
kind of go into like a different topic when you're mentioning like advertising, like where and how do you go about advertising in your area?
Different ways of advertising, and like when I talk about people about advertising, it really depends on where you're at, because some things work a lot better than other cities. I can tell you right now where I'm at in Austin, Google ads and Facebook ads, they really don't perform that well. I mean, I've spent $70 to $100 a day on Facebook ads, which is $3,000 a month, and I've had little to no turnover, basically barely breaking even, if that. And I've experimented over the years, and I've talked to other people in my industry that are in my city with that. They haven't had good luck with it. But then I know people in the northwestern, east coast, northeastern coast, they kill it with that. I think this is just my experience and what I've seen on my Facebook groups, is that Facebook ads and Google ads really work well with smaller cities. These big cities like Austin, Houston, LA, right? I don't know what it is. It's just my opinion that people that are smart, people just scroll past the ads, right? Like if anything on Facebook, if they see a pressure washing ad or whatever service you're doing, they'll get intrigued by the idea. Then they'll go on Google and figure out who the highly rated person in their city is for that. They'll call that person. So, and
Yeah.
that's just how I've dealt with it. Like, man, like I'm just intriguing people to do it, and then they're gonna call the top guy. So I don't do any Facebook ads or Google ads. Now I know people in the smaller cities that have less than 500,000 people that, everyone knows everyone, and they see a Facebook ad and like, oh, I'm gonna call that person, right? Because they're the only guy in that town that does it. It's perfect for those, and they kill it. Like I just know people that do it and they kill it like that. Doesn't work for me. There's 2 or 3 million people in Austin, right? But my way of marketing has been, one, just making sure I'm ranked at the top of Google, and that kind of goes back into putting money in marketing. Putting money in your website and your SEO guy. Like really make sure that you have someone in your corner that's going to give you reports every month. Make sure that they're doing everything they can to get you at the top of that Google rankings, because it's very important. Like I think it's like 70% of all online inquiries for contractor service-based businesses comes from online. So if someone types in carpet cleaning, auto body shop, pressure washing, and you don't fall in that map pack of, the map pack that everyone sees on Google, if you're not in that top 3, there's a very good chance you're not going to get the call. No one really hits view more and scrolls down to try and find you. Like they're going to call up top 3 guys. And so you need to do whatever you can to get there. And so that's what I've accomplished over the last 2 years, is getting there. So that being said, to answer your question, most of my business comes organically. I don't really spend money on any ads. My other form of marketing is, I touched on earlier, is realtors. Actually, me and you talked about this before, but realtors. So this is what I did when I first started, because my family's in the real estate business. Like, man, they're selling like 30 homes a year. Like realtors deal with homes. And so like one of the things that realtors have to do is make sure the house is presentable. Like every realtor has their contractors in their back pocket. They got their roof guy, their pressure washing guy, their maid people that clean the house, all kinds of things. Because, things can be wrong with the house. They want to go to sell it, and the seller's like, well, I need to get this, and that done. And the realtor's like, oh, don't worry, I know a guy. So I'm the exterior cleaning guy. And so what I did was I emailed like 200-300 realtors, and I would email them quarterly. And I was like, hey, I haven't heard from you. Don't worry about it. Like I said, I emailed you a few months ago, and I'm just the pressure washing guy that started his business a few months ago. If you ever need a home cleaned up before a showing, I'd love to go over there and rinse that down for you. Make sure it's perfect for the pictures. Like I said, I don't want to take too much of your time, but here's my number. Call me. Here's my work too, before and after pictures. So I'd send simple, and I'm just going off the top, but that's in essence, that's what I would say. And I would email that quarterly or every month, 300,000 times, right? Because you're not going to bug a realtor with an email. Sometimes they'll scroll past it, sometimes they'll click on it, but at least we're not bugging them with a phone call or a text message. And then what would happen is like 7 months would go by, and then I get a call like, hey, Austin, like, you don't know me, but I've been getting your emails for the last such amount of months. I've been seeing them. I've been waiting for a good project for you. Well, here you go. Here's what I got. Perfect, right? So I have a list of 300 realtors, and I think 30 of them I'm actually like partnered with. Like every single time they sell a house, they use me. And so that's kind of my form of marketing. I don't pay really any advertisement. It was a lot of sweat equity up front with grinding for those connections, property managers, and then grinding for my rankings. And that pretty much provides me just a dependable income each year. And then, outside of that, I mean, if paid marketing worked for me, I would do it. But in my experience, the last 4 years, it just hasn't worked that well. I haven't dabbled into EDDM, every door direct marketing. I've not dabbled into that yet. We'll see, but
So basically, it just kind of depends on your market, what works. But maybe a great way to get started is kind of talking to realtors, finding your niche, and then being known as the pressure washing guy.
That's not the way. Like I would never tell someone to do it. It's just a great way of doing it because like you think of it, it's just a numbers game. And that's the other thing too, is like what I teach is like target the top realtors. A lot of websites in their city that you can see who the top realtors are by volume, top brokerages, and then the websites are right there. They got their cell phone and email right there. These are people that do $5-10 million in volume. That could easily be 10 houses. It could be 30 houses. Depends where their city is at, right? Because whatever the houses are worth in that city. And so there's several different ways to pitch it. You can just give them the general pitch of like, hey, let me know if you need anything. Or it can be like, hey, like what I do with property managers is I will do the homes dirt cheap for probably half of what it would cost for retail, but I want to work out a deal with you where I do every single one of them. Doesn't matter if it's clean to your eye or not. I'm going to clean every single one of them. That way it's going to be clean for pictures, because some of these luxury brokerages, they really want the house to look great. Like if the driveway is dirty and they got some crud, it's going to ruin it. Let me come out there and guarantee me that I'm going to wash every single one of them. I'm going to do it for dirt cheap, right? So let's just say I do a house and driveway for $500. I'm going to do that for $200. But I know they're going to sell 30 homes in a year. So 30 times 200, I guarantee me that dependable income each year. And then that's for the brokerage. Or I do that. And I try to do that for all those good time agents, because these agents will spend, you'll be surprised. Like staging is really expensive. They'll spend thousands of dollars to stage a house to make sure the pictures are the most perfect pictures. They want the homeowner to see what their house could potentially look like, right? Give me $200. I'm gonna make sure the exterior looks perfect. And so that's kind of how I've sold it to these real estate agents, is just like, because my whole thing is I want dependable income each month. And that's just a way of doing it,
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think it's looking long term. The long term approach, where it's not just where's the quickest way to make a dollar, and I feel like people get to see that too. So I feel like that definitely helps building a strong business.
Yeah, for sure.
What about, is there anything you wish you would have known before getting started with power washing or pressure washing?
Wish I would have known before getting started. I think I would probably turn that question around, and how I answer that is like what I would do if I started over, because I don't think anyone knows too much of anything in some kind of aspect before they start a business. Most people are inexperienced in that business, so there's no one's an expert in that business before they even start a business. So what I would answer that question is like what I would do if I had to start over. And that answer to that question is two parts: getting my marketing right, getting my website presence right. Because had I done that, it wouldn't have taken me 4 years to do where I am now. It would have taken me probably half the time. So I didn't figure out my marketing and my website presence until probably a year and a half in. And then 2 is really becoming an expert in what you're doing. So I know that contradicts what I just said, but you can really learn a lot about a business by just doing research and really absorbing yourself around that kind of content. I mean, like for me, what I did was just watch probably every big video on YouTube at the time on how to wash a house, how to clean a roof, how to install this, and really get a really good grasp of the cost, of the amount of work, right? And then what I would do is, and I would tell my friends and family, hey, look, let me do this to your house. I want to experiment. I want to learn. I'll do it for free. And, at the end of the day, if you go and practice on your friends and family, they're going to be a lot more forgiving than strangers. Okay, you do not want to screw up a stranger's house because you're not going to have insurance because you may not be able to afford it if you were someone like me and you just screwed up their house. You bleached out the paint on their house. We've actually done that a few times in the last year, but thank God we have insurance. So, I mean, that's just something that happens. But someone that doesn't have insurance, you're looking at $500 to $1,500 depending on what kind of damage you did. So, yeah, become an expert in what you're doing. Practice on friends and family because they're going to be a whole lot more forgiving than strangers. And then figuring out your online presence. You can do that by YouTube, learning how to do that, or by hiring interviewing and hiring a good website developer and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think those are all great tips. I feel like especially with the practice too, doing with your friends and family. Like if you need to look up a YouTube video right there, like they're not going to care versus if you had a client.
I mean, like you go to your mom's house and you can do a driveway and figure out different ways of doing it. I mean, that's what I did. My grandma's house. I mean, luckily it's just my grandma, so she gave me a little something. But like, I knew my grandma's house. If I did something at my grandma's house, it's my grandma's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't go outside anyway. So like, yeah, because you don't want to find yourself because that is business destroying stuff that could happen. You go out, you don't know what you're doing, you destroy someone's house, and now you're 2 or 3 grand in the hole with some kind of thing you messed up. Most likely you're gonna some people would say the hell with this business. Like this is so discouraging. I'm out even more money. Like I don't know if I can do this. Become an expert in what you're doing, really know what you're doing, practice, and because there's no better feeling of getting to a house and really knowing what you're doing and you can get it done really, really quick. Because that's where all the money is made. It's made by being really, really efficient, knowing what you're doing, providing a really good service, and getting in and getting out of there, So that's just kind of what I've learned over the last few years.
Definitely. And I feel like, yeah, just getting those easy wins at first, getting the momentum to keep going really helps, especially when you're trying to get off the ground. What about what percentage of your time would you say you're like in the field actually pressure washing versus, working on office things, whether it's working on the website or calling people or, paying bills?
So, as far as where I'm at in my business, I'm an owner operator in a sense. I do have a guy working with me. But that's just as far as where I'm at in my business, I'm a sole operator. So at this point, I'm on every single job, whether I'm watching my guy do it or I'm actually doing it. So I spend 100% of my time on the business, whether I'm working it or I'm at home. I'm doing invoices, estimates. I'm doing some emailing rounds, and I'm figuring out ways to constantly promote my business. Sometimes I'll walk into apartment complexes, property management companies, emailing realtors, calling realtors. Sometimes I'll see a sign, a for sale sign on the road. If I notice it's pretty dirty, I'll just give them a call. Just like, who knows? I've sparked conversations like that, and I've gotten clients just like that. So, I mean, I do everything with my business as far as where I'm at now. Like ideally, I'd like to step off the truck and have a team of guys out there. I'm not there quite yet. But I stay really, really busy. And part of it is just because it's hard to find someone that can do this really that I trust. I think the reality is you're never going to find someone who's 100% of you because at the end of the day, they're an employee. They want to go home. They're not, they know if they mess up, it could be a slap on the wrist or they just get let go. But it's my name, my ass on the line. Excuse me. But so that's kind of been my hurdle is I probably could hire someone to get me off the truck, but really it can be nerve-wracking because you're lucky to find you're really, really lucky to find an employee that's 80% of you because they're not getting paid like you. They don't have the knowledge and experience like you. They don't care for the customer's house like you. They're not meticulous like you. So that's just been my hurdle until I get slammed where I cannot even breathe. I just got me and my guy, and my guy will do some of the smaller projects that are like mindless stuff, concrete cleaning. But if it's like a huge roof with luxury real estate stuff or a commercial building, you can bet I'm going to be there, at least to oversee, if not to perform. So
would you say that it's almost like an even split though with your time in the field versus in the office, or is there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I spend equal amount of time in the field as I do out of like office stuff, quote unquote office stuff. I mean, I'm sending every single estimate, email. I'm looking at the properties. I'm talking with these property managers and stuff. So I spent a lot of time doing like building the business up as well as actually doing the work.
Okay, and then I guess kind of lean to our next question, like how do you go about like bidding out a project for your clients?
Like that's a bit there's no magic number with
Okay.
that. I mean, everyone wants to say, oh, you got to go by a certain square footage or whatnot. But look, dude, it's a simple, don't ever let someone tell you what you should charge for something. Okay. If you're new in the business, you have a lot of learning to do before you really figure out that number. Look, just figure out your expenses. What are your expenses? How much time is it going to take you? Figure out what your time's worth at this particular time starting your business. Okay. I don't care if it's 50 or $300 an hour. Figure out what's going to cost you, then figure out what you're worth, do the math and subtraction, and then add it up, and that's what you should charge, right? Like, 'cause everyone's got different expenses than you. Everyone's got different levels of insurance that demand higher. That their experience and their rankings can demand higher values too. Like, I'm the highly rated person in town. You should probably charge a premium price. I've worked to get to that level, but someone starting out, dude, just get the job. I don't care if you're making little to no money. Just get the job, get the review, get the pictures, and you'll figure out your pricing as you go along. Definitely want to make sure you're profitable, but it's as easy as just figuring out your hourly rate minus your expenses. There you go, and then that's your or plus your expenses. Excuse me, and that's your rate.
I think that's a good way to go about it. What about, I know like the big question we're gonna get is like how much money can you make in say a single day with pressure washing?
So like when I first got started, it was, I mean, the it really depends on your equipment and your experience level. Because as your equipment upgrades and your experience level gets higher and higher, you can do things a lot quicker. And because you can do things a lot quicker, you can get on to the next thing, right? You can get on the next thing, get on the next thing. I've done 3 or 4 or 5 projects in a day. Okay, and some of these projects are average $500, right? So I've had consistently through the busy seasons, I'll have $1,500 days, $22,000 days. I think the best day I've ever had was $3,700. We did a restaurant, and then we had 3 house washing projects to do. It was a huge day. But someone just starting out that knows nothing and their equipment isn't there yet, you're not going to be able to do that because your equipment and your experience and the level of everything dictates how much you can get done in a day. You can charge however you can sell yourself all you want and charge however much you want, and unless you can get quicker at what you're doing, and without giving up some of that the quality, you're not going to be able to get on to the next project in that day and get going and going and going. So someone starting out, I mean, I hate sometimes this question is hard. It just really depends on the entrepreneur and like how well you can do this and how well you sell yourself. But people can easily, it's very easy to do $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, very easy. Okay. But once you get your equipment there and you really know what you're doing, I mean, there's guys in my pressure washing Facebook group or on my YouTube channel that literally make $20,000, $30,000 a month. I am partnered with the biggest guy in my city, okay, and he has contracts with the airport. He does all the grocery stores. He has a over $100,000 a month pressure washing business, and me and him are partnered with. We sell chemicals to all the local pressure washing companies in our area because I make the content and he has the business, right? Different story, but you can do whatever you want with this business. There can be a side business, side money. You can scale it to whatever you want because you can concentrate on restaurants, residential. You can do strictly dumpster pads. You can do gutter cleaning, window cleaning. You can scale it to however much you want. You can make as much money or as little money as you want in this business. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Yeah, it definitely depends on a lot of factors, like what's your area, kind of like you're mentioning, who your clients want to be and how hard you want to work. Is this something pretty passive or is this something trying to grind out every day and trying to maximize your revenue?
Mm-hmm.
What about what's like your monthly expenses then? And if you could give us like a little breakdown.
I mean, at this point right now, some people don't start with these expenses because they just don't. Some people don't get insurance till 1 year in, but I have insurance on the business, insurance on the trucks. You have your website and SEO guide costs. You have your chemical costs, your gas. Really, the better answer to that question is like, what's your profit margins? Most on sole operators, someone that's not paying an employee, because labor is a really intensive part of the costs in this business once you scale up. But really, most people can expect 50%, net profit returns, right? So if you go out and if you go out and have $1,000 a day, once you take your insurance and your website and your gas and your chemicals, blah blah blah, blah, divided by 30 days in the month, that you have your monthly thing, right? So and then plus taxes, no one thinks about that. They got to pay taxes, right? You can expect to keep half of $1,000, because 250 goes to taxes. You only get another 250 between the gas and I have my day rate of what I do is I take all my expenses, like the fixed expenses, my insurance, my website, and all that good stuff that I pay a monthly thing, my CRM, and I divide it by 30. That's my daily cost of operating business. Then I have my gross revenues for the day, and I take off that daily cost. I take out my taxes, and then I'm left with what I'm left with. So you can expect as a sole operator to be somewhere around 50%. But some of the guys that have multiple trucks, multiple employees, a good profit range is 20 to 30%.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's good to have like a general, I guess, reference point. What about, is it like too saturated to get started with pressure washing business? I feel like I've seen a lot more YouTube videos.
I mean, 4 years ago, it was a lot less than it is now, especially with YouTube. So it is a little saturated, but I wouldn't let people discourage you on just because there's someone else doing it, you shouldn't do it, because there's so many different levels of the entrepreneur. Most people 5 years into the business quit. Most people don't last a year into any kind of business. They end up quitting. So don't let something like that discourage you. You can do whatever you want in this business. There's so many different niches: window cleaning, gas stations. Some people specifically do one thing, and they don't even have to have a website. Some people just go and talk to every property manager, and they're their guy, right? So that's the one thing I like about this business. You can clean so many different things and concentrate on that specific niche. And who cares? I mean, I never really look at my competition, because I'm not even thinking about them. Not to say that I'm the best, but like if you always concentrate on your competition, like, oh, there's 10 guys doing it, there's no way for me to make it, dude, you probably shouldn't be in business anyway. So like I don't. Anyone can get started doing anything. It depends on the entrepreneur and like how much drive you have, honestly.
Okay, and I guess kind of going off that, is there like certain people you would recommend not to do this as like a side hustle or start it as a business?
I mean, obviously, you want to be able to get up on ladders. You should be able to stay out in the heat. You have to have some level of stamina and energy. So if you're older, you have issues walking around, that might be an issue for you. But if you're a otherwise young, healthy individual, male or female, whether you're doing window cleaning or whatever else niche in the business like I just described, you should be able to get out there and get it done.
All right, awesome. And then just kind of wrapping everything up, do you have any final tips for anyone who's looking to get started?
Be a sponge to information. That's all I gotta say. It doesn't matter what you want to do. Okay, you need to absorb as much information as possible. Really become an expert in what you're doing. Be passionate about what you're doing. Don't go half-ass into really anything. Unless you just want to have it as a side gig. But if you want to go all in on this, you really should contact the people you need to contact. Reach out to people that are going to help you, and really just go all in on it. But that's what I would say, is just be a sponge to information.
Yeah, I think that's a great final tip for us. But yeah, I just want to thank you for your time, and I feel like I personally learned a lot. I'm sure our viewers did as well. So thank you. And if anyone wants to check out more of your information, you have tons of more videos on your channel. It's going to be linked down below. But yeah, thank you, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.
Appreciate it.
All right, bye.